G'day guys. Today I have a very special interview with three of the most highly qualified SharePoint guys in the world. These guys, three Aussies, have gone off and got the most sought after qualification for SharePoint called a Microsoft Certified Master. So with that, let's go and see what it takes to get that qualification.
Hi, I'm Alex Bakin. I've been working with SharePoint since 2004. I've worked at Dimension Data here in Australia. Before that, I worked with .NET, some Windows infrastructure.
And you're Brazilian?
Yes, I'm Brazilian as well.
Hi, I'm Elaine Van Bergen. I work at OBS down in Melbourne. I've been doing SharePoint, I think, since the beta days of SharePoint 2003, early end days of SharePoint 2001, and really with a development background.
Hi, I'm Gerald Duran. I work for OBS with Elaine. I've actually been working with SharePoint since the first version of SharePoint, but pretty much been working with SharePoint full-time since Beta 2 technical refresh of SharePoint 2007.
So I might just start. You guys are SharePoint Masters. That's a decent qualification. It's the Uber qualification for SharePoint guys. I'd like to know a little bit more about what it is and how hard it is to get and how expensive it is.
So I will start and you guys continue. So we have to go, before even attending a master, we had to do a pre-assessment of our skills. So we had to you have the normal certifications that everybody can get, and as well as doing a full assessment, so a phone interview and a CV assessment as well, before even you'll be accepted to the program. And after we get accepted to the program, that's when the fun starts. I'll leave Elaine to explain the rest.
Yeah, so basically the next thing that happens is you have to pretty much read all of TechNet and MSDN. There's the massive reading list, and you seriously have to know this stuff, and you have to know not only the top level links but right down into the detail. So you do all your pre-reading, and then pretty much it's off to Redmond, where you spend 3 weeks in a very, very intense training environment of hands-on labs, sessions with the best presenters in the world. Both Microsoft and sort of external people to Microsoft come in. And Gerald can talk a bit about the exams.
During the actual 3-week master's rotation, you actually have 3 theory-based exams, which are kind of similar to the standard Microsoft MCP exams, just that the questions are a lot tougher. It all wraps up with a 8-hour qualification lab day, where you actually get to go in and prove that that you really have the experience.
Yeah, so for the labs, you basically have a dedicated blade server in which you run up multiple SharePoint farms. I think it's got a ridiculous amount of memory, and you can start and stop entire SharePoint environments. In terms of the 8.5-hour lab, though, I suppose that it really covers everything from development to infrastructure. You have a lot of tasks to do. And the theory behind it is that if you have to look up, whether it's Google and Bing, whichever one you use, any of those tasks, you're not going to get through it. You really have to know pretty much all those things out, and manage your time across 8.5 hours, which is a big thing as well, right? Because your typical day, you could get very stuck on one of those tasks. You get stuck, you're not going to pass.
I guess my advice for being successful in the labs is it's not enough to basically just work through the actual theory aspects of it, like work through the pre-reading list, which is quite extensive, which Elaine talked about. It's also about having the actual hands-on experience, having actually gone and worked on customer engagements and actually deployed reasonably complex SharePoint deployments. So not single server farms, multiple servers in the farms, at least medium-sized farms, and possibly even multiple farms, so where you actually have federated services scenarios.
So I get the feeling, and it could be incorrectly, that this is a lot more infrastructure than dev. Can I ask you, is that correct? And secondly, what is your focus? Are you more an infrastructure guy or a dev guy?
So I think in my past I was more dev, then I moved more to infrastructure. So I think in the MCM itself, I think I can feel there was like more 50% was infrastructure, about 25% architecture and design and planning, understands what you should consider to do that, and 25% dev. That's what for me was the hardest part.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of the colleagues that were in the same rotation that had no dev background. They really did struggle, and they didn't make it. They haven't passed it yet. So there certainly is a strong dev component there, but I would say it is more infrastructure based.
Right.
There's probably a certain amount of development. I mean, when you're looking at the object model, it's fairly easy to work out how to code things, right? So the development pieces of MCM are more around structure and how and why you would do things, less so than do you know this, dot whatever it is in the object model kind of thing.
One question I didn't ask, this course, how much is it?
I think currently is $18,500 US. Just that includes one shot on each exam. So if you don't pass the exam, you have to do retakes. You can do 2 extra retakes, and you have to pay for the retake separately.
So you're feeling the pressure?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. mainly if you're not paying out of your pocket. So if your company is investing in you, I think you have almost like and you have to get a certification because it's like such amount of money. You don't get that wasted, right? So
yeah, interesting. All right, might just finish off. Just tell me your favourite blog post, something that you learnt a lot from.
I think Spencer Haber, one of our instructors.
Right.
I think that's what the blog that probably most of us go. I think mostly because of the user profile issues that we have been happening since the release. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think Vesa Jonasson, he's called Vescu for short. He's got a really good series of blog posts on complex development topics, things like web templates. You don't see a lot of other people taking that angle from a development point of view, so I've certainly learnt a lot from his content.
Right, okay.
I also, regularly actually look at Steve Pashka's blog. I think it's called SharePoint Serendipity, and there's lots of useful information up there on claims.
Awesome, thank you. So with that, I really appreciate the time that we got from you guys today. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, Adam.
Bye-bye.